Now. And we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome to the opening of How to Be an Artist in Minecraft, a solo exhibition from Huidi Xiang, co-presented by Ender Gallery and the MacKenzie Art Gallery. My name's Kat Blimke, and I am one of the Ender Gallery co-curators.
I'm Jonathan Carroll. Hi, everybody.
And we're joined by Sarah Friend, another co-curator today, as well as the artist Huidi.
Yeah, if you are
feel free to shout hi.
Hi.
We are all present. We are here in Minecraft together. If you're joining us in game as well, feel free to ask any of us for assistance. If you want to join the exhibition, please visit ender.gallery/how-to-join to find instructions on logging onto the server. If you're tuning in to the MacKenzie Art Gallery or Ender Gallery's live stream, you're welcome to ask questions or make your comments in the text chat. So the text chat is located on the right-hand side of the video if you're watching the stream through a computer, and below the video if you are streaming through a mobile or a tablet device. If you're not able to access the chat, just make sure you're logged into the service you're using to view the stream, and feel free to reach out to Sarah, Kat, or I on the chat if you need additional resources. You can also join us in the chat to ask questions in audio form. The instructions for joining the audio portion of the chat are also at that link on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, ender.gallery/how-to-join. Before we begin this event today, we here at the MacKenzie Art Gallery, where Kat and I are representing, want to acknowledge that the land we are gathered on for this live stream, Treaty 4 territory, is the homeland of the Cree, the Saulteaux, the Lakota, the Nakota, the Dakota, and Métis people. Our servers are also based on real land, which is easy to forget when we're working digitally, when we're sort of living in these virtual worlds, but the servers also occupy real space. Our servers are based in Bavaria, in Germany currently. You are gathered wherever you might be, so take a moment to reflect upon the real space that you occupy, especially as we enter this virtual world today.
Yes, and so in this virtual space that we've gathered on today, this exhibit that we're hosting, How to Be an Artist in Minecraft, it's really highlighting some of these tensions between virtual representations of actual material costs. So during her residency, Huidi Xiang was documenting her parallel life as an artist in Minecraft, noting these physical and cognitive activities she was undertaking to maintain this life as an artist in Minecraft in contrast to the things she was doing in her daily life in IRL. And as COVID continues to shape the ways that we're working and playing, especially through our increased reliance on digital platforms, this exhibit is really a timely reflection on the way these platforms are incentivizing our behavior through strategies like gamification and a blurring of this labor and leisure divide. So this is a real consideration of what it means to be a working artist in a platform that's designed for creative gameplay. And Huidi's exhibit is really simultaneously humorous and critical, offering us as curators a fresh perspective on our own Ender Gallery programming model and the concretization of the labor of digital artists. So I'm really grateful today to be introducing Huidi Xiang, whose exhibition we're going to learn a bit more about. Hi, Huidi.
Hi. Thank you so much, Kat, John, Sarah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just like really excited today to like talk about this work. And even though this is considered as an opening for this exhibition, which is going to be up in Ender Gallery for 2 months, and usually when we're talking about opening, we're thinking about, okay, this is like the finished work and we put up there, and that's it. But I truly thinking about this residency as an ongoing process for me, as well as this exhibition is also an ongoing process for me to keep exploring how to be an artist in Minecraft. So yeah, I think the first thing I want to say, just like thank you so much for Ender Gallery offering me this opportunity to do this residency here and to truly explore this world, this creative world. So yeah, okay. Just gonna talk a little bit about how I want to do this project, and then we're gonna have like a little tour around different works I've been creating on this server. So basically, this exhibition entitled "How to Become an Artist in Minecraft" is literally, as the name suggests, is an exploration of how to become an artist in Minecraft. So on the one hand, I primarily practice as a sculptor in my daily practice. I majorly identify myself as a physical object maker instead of a game artist or artist usually working with digital context. So before I working with Ender Gallery, I had almost no experience in Minecraft beforehand. And I actually, even though I played some video games like Animal Crossings and stuff like that, but I didn't like use like a video game as a medium in my art practice. So I'm using this project to literally explore the world of Minecraft and how it can act as a site or context for my current practice. So on the other hand, this project intends to reflect upon why we need to be an artist in Minecraft. So what are the meanings, connections, and implication of claiming the role of artists in the world of Minecraft, especially for we already have so many amazing gamers and players all over the world have already like created like so many amazing artwork inside of this world. So how do we as an artist participate in this gaming world, and how we actually participate in that kind of power game behind the games we're actually playing? So this is like the starting point of this project, and I basically just want to explore it. As I said, for one, it's like, can I use this as a media in my artistic practice? And on the other hand, is basically just to questioning why we need to claim the role as an artist in this world. Yeah, and so my strategy is basically I borrow the strategy of like living a parallel life of an artist, both in the digital context as well as in my physical real life from my previous projects. During last year, during the lockdown because of COVID, I was playing Animal Crossing New Horizons for 1 year without missing one single day. And throughout the process of the entire year, I document everything I did in in Animal Crossing using a spreadsheet. So basically, after 1 year, I have 366 days of data of what I've been doing and working in the world of Animal Crossing. And that becomes like so after I got this kind of spreadsheet of data table, or this like a spreadsheet of like a huge pile of data of what I've been doing in the digital context, I becomes like curious about this idea of artists practicing in digital context, as well as this kind of like a really interesting blurred boundary between unpaid labor in video game. For some of you may know, Animal Crossing is basically a life simulation game where the main characters get launched on this like desert island with the aim to transform this island into a lively community consisting of different animal villagers. So basically the character, the player, the goal for the player is basically just like using different kinds of natural resources, objects, and transform them using the tool objects, and then transform them into another set of we call decorative objects to decorate the island. And the player also have this ability to like sculpt the island itself. So for me, it becomes like a really on the one hand, it's like becomes a really good like a structure, like a provide me like a structure framework doing like this kind of messy and blurred life during the lockdown. On the other hand, it also becomes like a practice, like becomes like an alternative way of my artistic practice, because at that time I lost access to my art, to my studio, so I basically couldn't make any physical object at that time. So that becomes like I was working with Animal Crossing for one entire year, and that becomes like the kind of like the starting point, or like the reference, like a major reference for what I have been doing in Minecraft as well. A funny thing about it is like when I started working with Animal Crossing, I actually was thinking about Minecraft at that time. But at that time I was like, oh, Minecraft is such a for me at that time I was like, oh, this is such an overwhelming game, because I've been seeing a lot of like crazy creation, or like really deep like research or like exploration of this game world. So I'm like, oh, this is a like, I feel like Minecraft is amazing, but at the same time it's really overwhelming. So I actually chose like my Animal Crossing over Minecraft at that time. But then when I saw the Ender Gallery actually put out the open call of the Minecraft residency, I was like, okay, this is like my opportunity to really dive into the world with the help of other artists who have been already like diving into this world, and have basically just like, okay, maybe I can learn a lot of things from the artists who are already using Minecraft as a site or context for their artistic practice. So yeah, that's basically the kind of introduction of what's going on behind the starting point of this project. And yeah, okay, cool. I think right now I should do the little tour around the place. Yeah, I can talk more about this work when we're doing this little tour.
Yeah,
I think I've been like rumbling.
No, it's been good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
so could you tell us where we are right now, Huidi? And just like for the audience, they're able to see this location right now. So
okay. So yeah, so this little island is actually the spawn point of this little world. So it's basically when you're landing in this server, it's like the kind of like a starting point of where you started to exploring the world. And I put a little sculpture, like a replica of like a physical sculpture I made earlier this year. Oh, I was in the water earlier this year, and it's actually called 0000. It's basically when I was like working with like a video game or digital context, I realized there's always like a starting point, right? Like, or like when we're like working, like when I was little, like when we solve like math problems or physics problem, we always have this kind of origin point as like the starting point of everything. And I'm thinking about this like is the set of this like origin point is either really arbitrary by ourselves, or is something like imposing our life. I made this like a portable or like a movable origin point, this like a little physical sculpture, and then I claim it as my origin point. So every time I have an exhibition, I just like set this origin point in the space and identify that as my origin point. So when I started working in the Minecraft server, I'm like, okay, I need to set up like my own origin point as well. So this is why the sculpture is here, and as like a little origin point to hint the spawn point hint as like the starting point of this world. And I think I should mention like the yellow color in this world. So it's actually like a little bit tweak of the yellow concrete block in Minecraft, but the yellow color is actually yellow. Color I have been working a lot with my previous work. It's called Extreme Yellow. Yeah, and I think the hex code for the Extreme Yellow is actually FFB729. So yeah.
Awesome.
So we see, this color is like kind of, it guides you through these areas that you've chosen to intervene in this space. Like some of this, or what we're looking at today is a lot of the a particular village that you have chosen to be the site of your exhibit and of your residency. But here is kind of this trail where you can see clearly where these interventions are happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask a question while we're on the subject about the extreme yellow and what it is about this color that drew you? Is it mostly an aesthetic thing, or is there some kind of sort of metaphorical significance to it?
Yeah, I didn't name this yellow Extreme Yellow. So when I was working in my previous project, I was like trying to find this paint, like which is like just like a yellow paint to paint the over like a wall of like one installation I did previously. And then I just went, so I went to this like paint shop, and like there's a brand called Bear Paint, and they happen to have, they happen to have this yellow, and it's called Extreme Yellow. And I was like, oh, if I was looking for a yellow paint, I feel like the Extreme Yellow is the best. And I also love this idea of like understanding the color, not from this kind of like even though I just provided the hex code of this color, or like we understand the color from RGB or CMYK from the digital context. I also love this color. It's like it's like totally understood as from this like physical objects, it's paint. Like that's the Extreme Yellow, that thing contained in that can, that's the Extreme Yellow, instead of like how we understand the color as like a representation or like an image or like a digital thing, like or like as a code or as a number like existing in the digital context. So when I was like working with Minecraft, I think I was like, okay, I definitely want to introduce Extreme Yellow inside of it, because it's also like so much embedded in my understanding of this kind of translation between physical stuff and the digital stuff, and this like the actual objects and its like representation on the screen, basically. So yeah, that's like why I introduced Extreme Yellow in the world.
So when you had this paint in the can, it was like the material in the can was yellow itself, like yellow was a material.
Yeah, exactly. So like the Extreme Yellow. So I love this idea of like Extreme Yellow in Minecraft is like not manifested just as a surface or like a color. It's manifest as a block, right? Like it's a building block, and everything in Minecraft, I love that. It's like a building block. It's like has this like a three-dimensional object property embedded in this, instead of just of like this like surface. So yeah, I think that's really interesting to think, to like consider or understand Extreme Yellow in Minecraft.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Thanks for answering.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you so much for the question. I this also like makes me really thinking about it. Okay, cool. Shall we move?
Yeah. Shall I follow this path? Shall I follow the Extreme Yellow?
Yeah. Awesome. Nice. Okay. This is actually inspired by Travis, who's also here today. Like using the spyglass to like viewing stuff, especially for I think for the spreadsheet, it's like good. So okay, here we go. This is the spreadsheet I was talking about. So when I was working with Animal Crossing, I recorded all the data of like what I've been doing in that video game world. So when I started to working with Minecraft, I was as a spreadsheet fan, super fan of spreadsheet. I also started a spreadsheet for how I actually learn different aspects of things in Minecraft. So this spreadsheet here presented in Minecraft is it's part of the spreadsheet. So it's I think it contains the major process of what I've been doing every day. So it's the game log, and it contains my research phase and the construction phase. But the process actually including research phase and construction phase as well as installation phase. So the installation phase is not actually on the spreadsheet. And then another important section, which is not represented on the spreadsheet, is my reference spreadsheet. So throughout the process, while I was learning about how to become an artist or learning about different aspects of Minecraft, I definitely look at a lot of like YouTube tutorial or read a lot of books or a lot of essays regarding Minecraft or regarding the complicated relationship between play labor in today's context, or how we are actually using digital context as a research playground, I would say, for artists as well as other creative researchers. So that's also not included in this this spreadsheet presented here. And I will mention that this spreadsheet is actually made from like 200 maps and mapping on the glowing frames. If it's during the night, it's kind of like really interesting. It's like almost like the actual computer screen, and it's like a glowing dark in the darkness. So here from the sign, you can find the full spreadsheet, which I also just published on my own website, which is xianghuidi.com, xianghuidi.com/an artist in Minecraft. So yeah.
I just removed one of the maps by accident. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
This is the most me thing to accidentally do in an opening. I did this to Kat as well. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Let me find out which one is this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Oh, okay. Let's see.
It happens at least once every opening we have.
Yeah.
Not just by you, Sarah.
I should de-op myself so that I can not do this.
I think that's cool. That's actually reviewed how I actually did the things, because I always like consider like this resolution is like a little bit uncomfortable for me, even as like a artist. Like it's too sharp for the Minecraft world. I think we were talking about this previously, so it's nice. It's super interesting
to see how like my brain really wants the like lines on the spreadsheet to line up with the pixel tiles, but they like don't, of course.
Oh no, it's not the 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't even know which one is that one. Let's see. No. Okay. See, that's fine.
This is live art, folks, for you at home.
I know. Let's see.
I like the item here. View a sleeping fox. That sounds like it was very nice.
Oh, I think I'm almost there. Which one is it? Okay. Let's see. Is this one? No, it's okay. No. This one. Yes. It's the map number 86. Yeah.
Of course.
I'm surprised there is
Wow.
not a corresponding spreadsheet to the layout of the spreadsheet. Just
Spreadsheet?
Yeah, the spreadsheet for the
What?
spreadsheet, the meta spreadsheet.
Uh-huh.
And maybe if you had 3 months for the residency instead of 2, this would have been the logical conclusion.
Yeah.
I'm curious for the live stream. I know the answer to this question, but for the people on the live stream, how many tiles went into what we're seeing?
You mean the spreadsheet over here, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the spreadsheet is 200 maps. So yeah, so it's basically map number 0 to number 199, and this, yeah, so it's like 200 maps over here.
Wow.
Of the sort of time log that you spent here, should I save my questions to the end, or should I ask them while we're here?
I think now that we're here, it helps to have the audience see what we're talking about.
Totally.
So, yeah, just go for it.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious, after looking at the data log of sort of everything that you did, if there were any like major trends that emerged, like what did you, were there like particular times of day you found yourself doing certain things, or like things which took longer or were much faster than you expected?
I think for me, I think definitely like the construction phase, I find is like, it's most surprisingly for me, because I always feel like, okay, so Minecraft, all the things are like a cubicle stuff, and should be easy, and should be fast if I plan out everything like perfectly, and I just can get into the game and start into construction and just like make it happen. But then I've realized it's actually really hard. Like it's actually really hard to like kind of like planning out things and like make it happen. Like the construction always takes so much longer than I thought. And this is also like the moment I realized this interesting transition between play and labor, because I was like, okay, when I was like doing my research phase, I can do like whenever I want, and I just like looking into all this like really interesting YouTube tutorials, or like just like exploring the world, and it was so much fun. And then when I was like doing the construction for my research as well as for the exhibition, it becomes like a really, I wouldn't say annoying, but it's like actually really like tiring process. Like, so for example, when I like mapping this map, like there's like 200 maps of things. It's like I have to like build this wall first, and then to trying to calculate like the how high or how low the resolution I want for the spreadsheet. So I have to take a screenshot of it and then like divide it into like 200 of blocks, and then mapping the frames onto each blocks, and then mapping all the maps on the frame. So it becomes like a really, at that moment I was like really find out this like really blurred boundary between a play and labor. I was like, oh, am I still playing the game, or just like I'm just like laboring as this like artist trying to installing her show in a game, and it's like constantly giving myself maps, and then I can just like because of the command I use is like give myself a map, and then I just like hand the map on the frame, and then I also need to make sure which one is on which frame. So it becomes like this moment full of frustration, I would say, and that it took a really long time, and I really need to took a break. Like when I mapped like a certain number of maps, I was like, oh, I cannot do this anymore. It's just like too much. So I think that's really interesting for me, and I just feel like and that happened like several times throughout I logged my time onto the game log, is to have this like really interesting moment when I like realized, oh, am I still playing the game, or am I actually laboring the game, or is the game is actually playing me, or like this the game is actually laboring me. So yeah, I guess that's also like when I was like working on this kind of like a pattern I find out. Also like as we discussed before, I feel like to make this game log outside the game world, to documenting the data, to document the time, is adding another layers of like labor, right? I almost kind of feel like playing two games at the same time. I'm playing this Minecraft game as well as playing this like Google Sheets spreadsheet game I designed for myself. So yeah, I don't know whether that answered the questions, but that's what I'm like thinking about when you're like asking me like what patterns or like what trend like emerging from while I'm documenting my game activities on the log. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think contextualizing the spreadsheet as a kind of meta game or its own game is a super interesting perspective.
Yeah, I think
it reminds me of just the idea of grinding in games, where there's a part of a game. There are parts of games often that are not necessarily fun to play, but involve some sort of repetitive task that can lead to advancement within the game. And I mean, that just like is like a perfect metaphor for life, of course. But you're sort of upping the grinding quotient of this game by 100.
Yeah, I was curious if you had, because you were keeping track of your time within the game, I was curious if you had a total of the time that you spent in Minecraft or in the related Minecraft activities.
I actually didn't. I should do the calculate the time the total, but I feel like I need to waiting for like the end of the exhibition, like when we're doing the closing or like a total time of it. But I definitely need to do that. I always keep on track on that, but I don't know why like I missed that part for now. But yeah, that's such a good point. And also, I want to go back a little bit back to John's point about the grinding. And I think, yeah, definitely. I'm like thinking about, I was reading about why like the game designer are designing grinding inside of a game. Like one major reason like their design grinding game is basically they want to like evenly spreading out the time gamers are spending in the game, as well as they want to make sure the gamers from different levels, like there's like some expert gamers and there are also some newbies like in video games, so they're trying to kind of balance out the experience for everyone in the game. So that's somehow why they're like designing grinding, this kind of like a mechanism in games. Definitely there are other reasons for that, but I'm like really interesting in that reason, particularly because I find out it's just like, wow, this is kind of like this idea of like balancing, spreading out, and it's I feel like it's really fascinating for me because it's also like touching on the idea of like, are we playing the game or are we laboring the game, and how much the time we devoted in the game is actually for playing, or how much the time we're devoted in the game is actually trying to reach the point of playing. Like when I was mapping out this map, it's like definitely when I'm mapping out, like finally finished mapping out 200 of them, I was like, whoa, this is the moment I feel like I level up, right? Like I finally level up, or like I finally becomes like this viewer of my labor for the past months. Like I was working in Minecraft, but like the process is like really full of frustration and tiring. Yeah, so I was like really interesting to experience that in Minecraft as well, because I think when I was working in Minecraft, I didn't do the survival mode, so I did the creative mode the whole time. It's adventure mode or like creative mode. yeah, the creative mode. And I was like in that mode, so like all the resources and all the building blocks are limitless for me. Like I can just like, oh, grab the things out. I don't need to like collect all this like recipe to create new blocks. I just need to type the name of it and I can have that, and all the resources are like similarly like limitless for me. And I just like, on the one hand, I felt like that's really amazing, but at the same time, I also kind of feel like, whoa, am I cheating here? Like I just like entering this world with everything is just like available to me, and it's totally different experience, especially when I'm like thinking about my primary practice as a sculptor in the world, and also we had this conversation before about this kind of physical manifestation of the game world in the game world or like the digital context. So yeah, I don't know, that becomes like another thing I've been thinking a lot like throughout the process.
I'm curious about your, if you feel that there's some sort of, with your research into grinding and video game grinding and the kind of unfun process of it, if you feel that there's links to the concepts of the alienation of labor, you know, specifically that sort of imposition of production and like the sort of disconnect between what you're doing and like the results of that, if you find that if you find there's any similarities.
Yeah, I definitely find. So I think it's really interesting because when I was like doing research about the labor of gamer, and also while you're talking about the alienation of labor and how like actually grinding is also like it's produce this industry almost right now, right? Like people are working, like people are like trading their time for actual money. So they grind through the process and they got the money and they sell the money, like the game money for the real money. Like it becomes like this kind of like a market almost in game world. And I'm also like, on the one hand, I'm really interested in that. I think that's definitely another set of game behind the game we're playing. And on the other hand, I also kind of feel like, so that's why I'm like thinking about how to become an artist in the game world, because there's definitely like a different like power dynamic playing here, or like there's a different power position happening here. I shouldn't like oversimplify that or overgeneralize that, but I definitely find there's a parallel between this like game labor or like this kind of playful labor as well as this kind of creative labor, where we're making in the in our artist studio, because I've been thinking about the artist labor. It's such a, on the one hand, it's such a glorified labor. It's like, oh, it's creative labor, and this artist working in the studio, one day magic happened and the artwork happened, and it's just like boom. It's like such a beautiful creative labor happening in the artist studio. But at the same time, like the underpay, the constantly underpay, constant like tricky situation every artist need to experience in the art world. It's also kind of like it's like a journey full of frustration, and not to mention like actually in our studio we're like constantly working, and there's no boundary between work and life, and it's like 24/7 working, and but we kind of like label this like journey full of frustration and exhaustion as this kind of creative labor. And I realize that's also kind of like wrongly paralleled with like this kind of gamer labor. It's like gamer playing and kind of get really exhausted in the game world, and then we're saying this is all about playfulness, it's all about you're playing this game. So I just kind of, in my research, I kind of feel like this kind of parallel between, especially when I'm playing, like from my personal experience, right? Like when I was playing the game as a gamer, as well as I'm practicing as an artist, I gradually feel like there's like a similarity or like this kind of mirror image between like two identities I'm like having at the same time. but I do feel like what I just said is I kind of overgeneralize a lot of experience and ignoring a lot of like things. But yeah, that's what I'm like thinking about when I'm like trying to figure out what's the meaning of being an artist in the game world and what I can learn from playing the game as an artist, and to really reflecting upon the labor structure both in the game world as well as in the art world. So yeah,
it reminds me of that. Like if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life. Maybe the adverse is true. If you love what you do, you also won't play a day in your life. It'll just all, you're in this purgatory between work and play.
Yeah, exactly.
As an
and
artist.
You're just like, yeah, I think so too. I think you just take everything super personal and there's no boundary between work and leisure and play and labor anymore. And I think it's like really it seems like a really interesting idea because like Kat said in the intro, is like the phenomena of gamification is basically just apply all the game elements to different aspects of life onto our life right now, right? And so on the it seems like it's a good idea because it just like make the work more fun and make the play more productive. Like, oh, we're actually generating something through this kind of playing process, or like, oh, we're making artwork through playing the video games, and everything becomes like meaningful and valuable. And like but at the same time, like this kind of new exploitation logic like emerging from this idea of like everything's becoming better, because it just like it just becomes like everything like exploitation covered by this sugar code of like, oh, self-actualization or fun or playfulness, or you're doing this for you're doing what you love, or you're doing what you are searching for, you're doing what you consider meaningful, and it's just like, and it actually really becomes like this like idea called like self-actualization becomes like the new idea of like self-exploitation. So I feel like we're still in the process of that, identifying that, or like defining that kind of idea, or like realizing that's actually problematic. So I think it's really interesting to thinking about now, not only as an artist, but as well as a gamer in every games we're playing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting and insightful like answer to the question of like why explore these things simultaneously. Like why explore like what it is to be an artist and what that means in relationship to being a laborer in the context of video games. Because there's sort of an existing dialogue in both of those spaces, you know, in the context of games, sort of an existing dialogue around the way that they blur into becoming work. And then also, you know, a dialogue about how the sort of neoliberal story about finding meaning in your life through work. Actually, I shouldn't even call that neoliberal because it's way older than neoliberalism, actually, though it's experiencing a particularly accelerated form at the moment, I think. But it's very applicable to artist work. And so yeah, I think that's a really nice sort of parallel between those things and a connection.
Yeah. Okay, should we move on?
Oh, I'd love to see the space where all this creative labor, this magic happens. The artist studios.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just go to the studio then. Okay. Let's move.
I'm gonna follow the yellow brick road down here.
Yeah.
Follow the extreme yellow brick road.
Extreme yellow.
Oh, this is nice. The sunflower. Appropriate.
Yeah, it's also the yellow color. And this building is basically the first construction I've ever made in Minecraft.
No! I just broke it.
That's fine. I love that. We just break my first construction.
Wow, we're doing really well tonight.
Yeah, I left this building here because I just like want to just like as like a memorial or monument of the first construction I ever made in Minecraft. So yeah, it's like this yellow box, and it has extreme yellow concrete block, and then that's the hex number of extreme yellow. So if people are curious about the yellow, they can just like find it from this hex number, and yeah. And then I can move to this part. Oh, there's a pig. Nice. So yeah, as I said, I basically starting this project hugely inspired by my Animal Crossing research previously, and also because of for the past year during the lockdown, when I lost access to my actual physical studio, I'm using Animal Crossing as my studio space and really exploring that, how I can work with the possibility as well as the limitation of Animal Crossing, and to kind of embed my studio practice inside of it. So when I was using the Minecraft as my studio, I was like, oh, maybe I should recreate my Animal Crossing studio inside of it as like a case study or like a research process of it as well. So this is my Animal Crossing studio, and I really love the set of Animal Crossing, or there's another major thing I'm thinking about working with a game environmental context as a sculptor is the scale, right? Different world have different scales, and when I'm working a lot how translate the digital context into the physical space, a major questions I'm thinking about or considering is actually what's the scale, how large the digital things should be in the real life, or even just translate the digital space to another digital space is also how we thinking about the scale of it. And then so yeah, I think this is, but then I realized actually the scale of the Animal Crossing is pretty much similar as the scale in Minecraft. The main character, the human beings inside of the player inside of the game is 2 blocks or 2 units of the world. So this is how I created my studio inside of it. But there's 2 of them. The one on the right, from my angle, this little cube. This little cube here is called the Animal Crossing New Horizons Studio exterior view, and the one on the other hand is actually the interior view of it. And I'm really interested in that because it's about game representation, or this kind of possibility or limitation of the game. It's so for Animal Crossing, the house within the kind of a physics of the game is the house, the character's house, the gamer's house is this 40 pockets. It's from outside it looks like it takes only this much of units, or it's 4 by 5 by 4, I think. And then but from the inside is actually much larger than what it's get represented from the exterior view. So it actually looks like this block if we count every single block of inside of the studio. So I like this idea of how the scale, or how the space, and how the differences between inside and outside is portrayed or represented in the game world. Yeah, so this is basically how I kind of recreate the studio inside of my inside Animal Crossing, my Animal Crossing studio. So that's the inside casting of it, and that's the outside casting of it. Yeah. And the grid system here, I use actually labeled by this white concrete here, is actually 16 by 16 blocks. So that's the I think that's the building, like that's the plot like designated in Animal Crossings. So in Animal Crossing, it's like a 4x5 plot, and each plot is like 16 units by 16 units.
And so this space, I see in this space, there are 3 sort of this concrete gray areas. Could you tell us more about this space to the north here?
You mean
the
this
studio
one?
You created?
My studio. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the studio. Okay, so that's the Animal Crossing studios, and then this is actually the recreation of my. So right, this is like the recreation of my own studio now, and my own physical studio now, and this is as I said, like the white concrete is always like labeled the plot, like building plot, and then the gray concrete is basically just like my studio space. So like the empty grass block here, like the space for my apartment. So right now I'm living in like an apartment studio situation, and then the tables putting here is actually my actual table, like my working table in my real life. So this is like this recreation of my real life studio inside of Minecraft. And this table, this block, it's so another thing I should mention from this is there's a row of different work table here. And from this side, you can see which NPCs are using which table. And I'm really interested in all this like working NPC inside of Minecraft. Their identity or like their activity is like closely tied to their working table. So there's 13 different kinds of working tables, and so there's like 13 different kinds of job or professions inside of Minecraft. And so I'm thinking about there's no profession or jobs called artists inside of Minecraft. So in order to become like artist inside of Minecraft, or like a kind of like claim this profession or claim this job title as an artist, I should also like working the same manner. It's like there's one specific working table. It's like tied to my identity and tied to my activities inside of Minecraft. So this is my table is called data table. And I love this idea of like data, the table, this word is like can be used as to describe this physical furniture every day, but it's also like the word can be used to describe spreadsheet, especially in digital context. So that's like my table, this data table, and I designed based on the spreadsheet I have. So when I designed the table, I realized there's actually for a lot of tables that have like little tools on top of their tabletop. And so for my data table, the tools or like the things I'm handling or like the things I'm like held in my hands in the digital space is actually just a cursor. So I put a little cursor on top of the table, and yeah, so that's like my table. And the arrangement of all the tables is just like alphabet order of different professions inside of Minecraft. So like this arrangement or like this display of different table is basically just me trying to become part of the NPC, or like trying to become part of the working workers or laborers inside of the game, the world of Minecraft. And yeah, and another so this table here is basically just like in my real life studio, and the my actual table, working table, is placed around this area. So I have placed my working table here. And on this wall is just like me in real life, and as well as me inside of Minecraft. And it's just like a comparison between like I said, I'm running this like parallel life of being an artist in my physical studio, as well as being the this artist working and wandering in Minecraft world. And the label here is basically because previously I'm thinking about I should name both of them as an artist, but then I realized it's the painting I used to like replace, like, so basically the painting is like we created this like resource pack, and then I can like replace certain paintings with my own paintings. And the paintings I used to replace, I replaced the painting, like it's called the Wanderer, and I think that's such a good name, so I just use the name. So another painting of myself is it's called Garham, so I just like use that name, and that's their like dimension. And the third line is the time of the painting, and that time is not, it's basically when does that painting get included in Minecraft. So the Garham is like starting the alpha version 1.1.1.1, and the Wanderer painting is like started to appear in Minecraft is in this version. So yeah.
Can I get you to walk over to the paintings and then stand for a picture beside them, please?
Yes. Oh, okay.
A little closer.
Okay. Oh, let me just change my view so I can be. Okay. So here we go. Right?
Perfect. Now look at me. I'm nodding.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you.
Nice. Yay. Yeah, I think I actually took this screenshot just by my Animal Crossing studio over there, because the actual picture I took is also in my studio, so I just want to make sure the me is also inside of my studio in Minecraft. So yeah, that's
nice.
It's very interesting that you chose to depict the of all, because we'd sort of discussed the kind of affordances that are really visually apparent with the types of blocks, the work blocks of the NPCs. Like some are more obvious than others. Some contain their tools right on the image at the texture. So it's interesting that yours is so related to not necessarily these tasks that you have discussed with us about your physical sculptural practice, like 3D printing or fabrication or like a CNC mill, but it's really just this data collection. And I'm wondering why, or if you could just, for all, because you're mentioning before the kind of different tasks and different skill sets that an artist might be required in a sculptural practice to bring into their life. Why specifically you focus on the data collection for this one?
Yeah, that's, I think one thing I'm also thinking about is like, so when I was working on this table, I'm like thinking about this crafting table. So the crafting table is over here. So like the crafting table is where the player actually can crafting tools inside of Minecraft. And I was like, oh, so this is actually the representation of what we're like, this is like the thing we're thinking about if I need to like incorporate the like digital fabrication techniques I've been using in my physical life. I should like hack into this physical, like this crafting table instead of creating my own tables, right? And I think when I was like definitely struggling with like what kind of block or like what kind of like task, like a profession, like this like representative like activities I should portray in my working table, because as we discussed before, like I working a lot with like 3D printing and all this like fabrications skills, but then I realized it's actually how like what I actually doing in Minecraft. Then I realized like what as an artist what I've been doing in Minecraft, like in my physical life, I've been like working on like all this like digital fabrication things the whole time. But in Minecraft, I didn't do that, right? Like in Minecraft, I'm like clicking, using my cursor, I'm building the block, I'm breaking the block and collecting the data. So I want to respect that perspective, because as I said, like all those NPCs, their working table like define their activities inside of the Minecraft world. And I think for me, I'm also thinking about, so what I'm actually doing inside of the world. And despite I'm like, actually, I feel like I'm like making something, or like I'm like breaking the blocks, building the blocks and building a studio, or like creating this world, but the actual physical activities I'm doing are like it's like generating all this data, or like collecting all this data, and like clicking and typing and commanding, and that's the things I'm actually doing. So I think instead of like trying to figure out which like fabrication thing is like most representative of me as an artist inside of game, I'm just like, okay, so I'm really gonna make a table which represent what I'm actually doing in the world of Minecraft. So that's why it's like the data table instead of like a table like a represent 3D printing, or represent CNC, or represent any digital fabrication tools I've been using in my physical life.
It makes me think of how where work is represented in Minecraft by this like diversity of different tools. A lot of the time in our world, there's like this sort of flattening of difference in work, where at least in the case of like especially artists working digitally, the interface, the tools you're using are not that different from, you know, people designing, someone who would be designing doing industrial design, or someone who's doing an administrative task. Like your toolbox is the same regardless, but the output might be different. But a lot of in like digital technology, all of our tools look the same.
Right, exactly.
Interesting. My reflection was going to be about the Jane's Walk section, where we sort of look at the files that make up the game of Minecraft, and we sort of say, yeah, and everything that we've done in this world is actually just a text file somewhere. So I think that reducing the artist labor of being an artist in Minecraft to like creating a bunch of data, clicking and typing is like very literal in a way.
Yeah,
I like reminding people of how that is.
Yeah, I think that's a really, I love that, because I was part of the workshop, and I love that when we're like actually went into the back thing of it, and we're just like looking at all this data, like the files, and like loading all the things and stuff. I was just like, whoa, that's really, it's, as you said, Sarah, it's like a reduction, and it's like, oh, what is this? And it's also like a flattening, or like kind of like removal of like differences. So like, yeah, it's the connotation is definitely really, I would say, horrifying in a way, and how like everything is becomes like such a, just like a data, or like just becomes like a number and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, by the data table, I'm like definitely reflecting on that. I was like, what I'm creating, I'm like creating a bunch of numbers and creating a bunch of files and folders and stuff like that. And like, am I doing this? Yeah, what is this? And so I feel like the data table for me, definitely for one thing is I'm creating this, and as what I'm thinking about what I'm actually doing this, and this definitely like as a self-reflection of, yeah, the whole thing you were talking about. And I think that's, in a way, it's like really, for me, it's like critical, and and at the same time it's kind of like a playful and it's mixed feeling of like sadness, and it's kind of like make a fun of myself. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of really mixed feeling of how to being an artist in Minecraft and what I'm doing actually in Minecraft, I guess.
We have a very interested traveling merchant. He's the biggest fan of the Under Gallery, our most loyal.
Yeah, he's never missed an opening.
I need to share that I got a picture of him standing like he was going to use the artist table.
Nice.
I'm excited about it.
I think maybe he was going to like work on his branding for his e-shop, his e-commerce shop.
That's the best.
The artist table. Oh, on the note of like oh, sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I was just gonna ask a question, but if you have one or comment or something, my question was just gonna be, it's just a general one. So, I was just recalling how you said that initially when you started the Animal Crossing project, you considered using Minecraft, but found it kind of overwhelming as a possibility. And I guess I'm just wondering how your reflections on Minecraft have changed after the residency, or if they have.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because I have to say I still feel Minecraft is overwhelming, but I've learned a lot from Minecraft, and another thing I'm thinking about right now is like how like the huge differences between all this like the platforms and different games, and what are the premises are, and what their like the setup are, and what kind of world and what kind of like alternatives to our physical life they're trying to proposing. They're definitely all the game designers or like developer and the gamers are trying to propose different alternative models of it. So yeah, I still think Minecraft is overwhelming, but I do feel like it's such an interesting world. I definitely want to explore more or like dive into more. But at the same time, I just feel like it's just, I don't know. Sometimes I kind of feel like Minecraft is like it's like also I still feel like it's like the possibility just like really, really wide open. And every time I'm just like, oh, like I said previously, like I'm in this creative mode the whole time, and everything's limited less, and I can have access to all the resources I want, and if I know coding, I can just modify the game however I kind of want, and then I'm just like, okay, this is a lot. This is too much. I almost have too much freedom. Then I have this kind of feeling, but then I realized, especially I think when after I attended the workshop organized by Ender Gallery, the James Walk, and also like watched a lot of other live streams of people playing Minecraft. I'm like, okay, so even though I kind of feel like this is a lot of freedom or a lot of things happen, like a lot of like I can do whatever I want, but it's not like that, right? It's just like maybe compared with Animal Crossing, I have more freedom, right? Like in Animal Crossing, you can only use like the existing items inside of the game, and it's impossible to alter anything inside of the game. But we, like as I said, we're still but it's not the case. Like playing Minecraft, we're still like operating on this specific platform, on this like specific corporate platform, and we're like interacting with like specific group of people or specific group of gamers, and there's always this issues of accessibility and inaccessibility existing in the game in the game world and in the digital world, and I kind of feel like in the past, I didn't realize that. I was just like overwhelmed by this like too much freedom existing in the world of Minecraft. But after playing the game and after been doing this residency with Under Gallery, I realized this is not the case. And I realized there's a lot of actually limitation and still a lot of issues, like a critical issue we need to thinking about, especially as an artist operating the game world, or in Minecraft specifically, it's still on this limited access platform we are working on. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's a new thing, or like a new reflection I have towards the world, and I think I'm really inspired by art and galleries practice. Yeah, so that's my answer for now. I don't know whether it's gonna change, in the future, but yeah.
I'm curious, like you began to sort of remark upon this, and the enclosure of your work, essentially because it exists on these platforms, like because you're using the proprietary Animal Crossing or Minecraft to build something, but even the Google spreadsheets, like is you're also beholden to that infrastructure being maintained. I'm curious what your thoughts are, like as as someone who pursues sculpture, being locked into all these systems, or having perhaps that infrastructure be potentially precarious for the future of those projects. Are there methods that you've taken to ensure the longevity of things? Like, do you have video recordings of your spreadsheets, but have you printed them out in long format or anything? And how will you approach that for your Animal Crossing and Minecraft interventions?
Yeah, I think one thing I've been thinking a lot about is how fluid what's the connections between different platforms, and how we can create tunnels among all the different platforms, like how many formats of work can existing in this world. Because I feel like I remember there's discussion or a questions when we did the Jen's Walk workshop, the Ender Gallery's Jen's Walk workshop, there's a questions about wait, what was the question? Oh, it's basically just how the platforms, or why we're working with Minecraft instead of working with independent games, or everyone just design their own games, or instead of we're all playing Minecraft, or we're all gathering this world of Minecraft. And I think this the one answer, or one discussion we had, I think is really inspiring for me. It's because Minecraft created this opportunity for us to reach the border audience, or to build our communities through this a really large platform, right? So I'm just thinking about how we can use all these platforms to build our own communities, and how we can build tunnels among different platforms, so we can just translate easily, or transport easily among different platforms, so that becomes a more accessible world for everyone, instead of just everyone's just kind of locked in one specific world and playing one specific type of games. Yeah, so I think for me, as a sculptor, or right now still primarily working in the physical world and making physical stuff, and for sometimes working with museums or gallery, and working with this institution, and how the sculpture can not only existing in that contained space, but also in more open space, in the game, or in the online world, and how these two words can translate it into each, connect with each other, or they have this kind of tunnels, or they can use as a mirror images, or to critique each other. And so I think that's a thing I have been thinking a lot about, or why I'm interested in working in right now this kind of manner, is not only creating objects inside of a physical world, as well as creating objects inside of video game, like Minecraft. I think that's fascinating for me. I think that's really indeed, I think you're using the word precarity, and I think that's indeed a precarious like situation for every artist. But I also kind of feel like that's an opportunity for us to like just carve out this kind of tunnels in between different platforms, and then to see whether that can create more opportunities for us to form our communities among different platforms, and to reach as much as audience we can, and to like really challenge this idea of like boundaries or accessibility or all the things of different institutions or different platforms we're interacting with. So yeah, I don't know whether that answers the questions, but I think that's the thing I've been thinking a lot about. As an artist, I working cross platforms now.
I think just a reflection based on what you spoke about, sort of working cross-platform and with digital spaces, sort of as a way to change the terms of access to artwork. And I was just kind of remembering earlier when we talked about like how creative mode in Minecraft contrasted with sort of entering the studio, and how different it is to suddenly have like everything at your fingertips versus like practice as a sculptor where, you know, like, oh, my dog just came into the room and I hope he's not too loud. So, you know, we have to like run to the store and everything is limited. And so I guess maybe there's like a on the like material level, there's a kind of like scalability afforded by a digital work and when making a digital sculpture, and simultaneously like a scalability of a digital audience for a digital artwork. That is like maybe an interesting parallel.
Yeah.
But I guess also maybe like a weakness of digital spaces. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like, for me, like it's always about translation and conversations between different worlds, right? Like how I think, especially during the past years, like how like the boundaries between the digital and the physical like become blurred, and we're like constantly thinking about how like the physical world becomes part of the digital world and how they squeeze into the screen. But at the same time, right now I feel like the digital world is also bleeds into the physical world, right? Like and how like it's kind of like becomes like also like dominating the physical, like where like the logic of like digital world becomes part of like the logic of the physical world. So these two things for me like always like it's like two-way systems always. It's never about like translating my objects into the physical world, into the digital world, or like recreating my objects or recreating the sculptures inside of the digital world. And right now it's also about like how I learned the lexicon or learned the vocabularies from the digital world and started to make like physical sculptures in the real life. And yeah, and this idea of like materiality, physicality, and access to different materials. It's indeed, I was like, oh, I wish like in my real life as a sculptor, I can just get as much as wood I want, and or like get as much as materials I want, like investing Minecraft. But I do feel like this kind of limited access to material in physical life can be also as a critical lesson for me to practice in Minecraft as well. It's like, oh, how many trees I actually need to cut down in order to make this studio. Like, for example, like this is a dumb question, but I'm just like trying to like make examples about like this limitation in real life can also be like a critical lesson for me to reflect upon my existence in the digital world.
Yeah, you mentioned that you tried to build this studio space in a way that would affect as little trees as possible. So kudos on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, the feedback loops between sort of digital and physical spaces. This is like completely off topic. Maybe we should take, have there been any questions from the audience? If not, my utterly off topic comment is that I went on a little vacation like last summer with a couple friends, and we went on a hike through the forest. And as we hiked, we kept being like, oh, this little house, like it looks like a shop in an RPG. Like this is where I go and stock up on healing potions, isn't it? And then like, oh, this like particularly notable flower in a clearing, like that's definitely a save point. And
Yes.
And I felt it was really fun to like have this conversation of like creating our RPG journey on the hike, but also like really interesting that we were almost unable to like encounter the hike without making analogies to digital space. It was like the first sort of metaphor or reference point that we had for like anything we were seeing. Yeah,
the 21st
so just like
century's idea of like intelligent design, like the idea that there must be a god because reality is so complicated, coming from like Western Europe in the Renaissance or whatever.
Reality
must
is
be a
so
game
complicated
designer.
compared to Minecraft.
Exactly. I think that's such a good story because I learned like I had a similar story. It's like I remember one day my friend basically just posted a picture on Instagram. It's like what this flower is, and I answered that questions, and she asked me, since when you're like know all the things about flowers. I was like, I learned about this flower in Animal Crossing. Like I grow this kind of flower in Animal Crossing. I'm such a bad like plant care. I just like really bad at taking care of plants. So I never have any plants in my life. My life previously, but I always killed them. So right now I don't have any plants in my apartment. So yeah, but I keep growing flowers in Animal Crossing. That's how I know about all the plants and flowers now. From the digital world, never from real life.
Any plans to make your resource pack available for other people to download and add to their Minecraft world, or what do you think of? Is that an idea? I know it's a what does that idea spark in your mind?
I think that's great. I think that's amazing, and I think that's just like it's like I did for my data spreadsheet. Is like right now it's published, and like people can see it on my website, and it's a public. So I definitely want to share the resource pack, and I think that's really important for like sharing and everything is like kind of opening. And I mean, I download a lot of resource pack from other people, and I learned a lot from other gamers. So I think that'd be amazing if I can contribute to the community. So yeah.
Build more tunnels between platforms, maybe.
Yeah, I have another question related to tunnels and other platforms, or maybe just a general question, which is what other platforms would you like to tunnel to, or maybe just like what's next for you, like where are you going to take this work?
Yeah, I think I definitely want to explore more Minecraft and to see like how and I think since I started to play Minecraft, I've also started to use like Discord or Twitch or like all this like we consider like all this like app or like softwares we use a lot in game community. And and also I find out that there's a lot of like app, like for example, like when I create my resource pack, I'm using this like software called like Benchblock. Yeah. And there's all this like all this like platform, like no matter it's like designed by individual gamers or like it's designed by other companies. I think they're like really, really interesting. So I want to do that. And I think next step for me, another important thing is I have started to working a little bit on this like physical manifestation of Minecraft, because for my Animal Crossing work, I had this spreadsheet, and then I create like a physical installation for Animal Crossing, and then I kind of like want to translate that installation back to Animal Crossing. And I feel like for now, the Minecraft, I haven't reached that step yet. So the next step is definitely to thinking about how I can bring some elements or some lesson I learned from Minecraft into, but bridge that things I learned to the physical world, and see how that can also spark me to like carve out other like tunnels to other world. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's gonna be like a interesting journey to like thinking about that, to like translate some like logic or some lesson I learned from Minecraft to the physical space.
Very excited to see where that work goes. I know during your interview we talked about like how funny it would be to have like a physical crafting table or something in the studio. And
Yeah,
I'm sure you're
definitely.
thinking as like, you know, now that you've undertaken the whole project, like have different ideas, but yeah, I would love to see it.
Yeah, I think right now I definitely want to recreate this table in my physical studio and place next to my working table. Just want to see this like data table. It's really funny, just like the data table doesn't make any sense in the physical space, basically, I feel like, but would definitely want to see that happen.
Yeah, I think it would be extra funny.
Mm-hmm.
So this project is going to continue to evolve over the sort of exhibition period.
Yes, we have a
Yes.
performance by the artist on October 9th from 12 to 1 p.m. CST. So that's 3 to 4 EDT for those folks who are in the Eastern time zones. And that will be the closing the open studio performance, where
Exactly.
we'll find ourselves again in here, in this space here with Huidi, a bit more in character as the artist NPC.
Yeah, for most of the residencies, we've done an open studio event during the residency. But in a way, this entire exhibition is an open studio. So the format is a little different.
Yeah, and I love this idea, like a closing open studio, like the door is like gradually closing.
For folks in the audience watching now or watching a recording of this later, as long as the exhibition period is still up, you can visit yourself the exhibition whenever you want, I think, and see how the studio is opening or closing, is progressing through its exhibition period. Visit all the blocks that you've seen here and sort of see everything up close and personal.
And you can do that by going to ender.gallery/how-to-join, the link in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, and in addition, should have mentioned this should have front loaded rather than back loading, but we have some extra Minecraft accounts. If anyone doesn't have access to a Minecraft Java Edition account, reach out to myself or Kat. So my email address is jcarroll@mackenzie.art, or you can find me through the MacKenzie's website probably, and then we can hook you up with an account so you can visit the exhibition.
Yay!
Yes, thank you so much, Huidi, for showing us and the audience at home a little bit into your life as an artist here in Minecraft. It's been really fascinating to watch this work develop. As I kind of mentioned earlier, it's been a really great meta view into the Ender Gallery residency project in general. I think it's always good to have that sort of critique as a curator. But yes, it's been fantastic watching this grow, and I look forward to the continued work through the performance next month. So
and I want to say thank you so much for Ender Gallery, and thank you so much, John, Kat, and Sarah. It's like I cannot do this work without you. And yeah, as you said, it's like it's like kind of like a meta questions, and but without our Ender Gallery, I cannot asking this kind of question, right? So I think that's such a great journey. I definitely learned how to be an artist inside of Minecraft. That's the most important lesson. So
yes,
yeah.
Well, thank you also, Huidi. It's been it's been great to work together and to get to know your practice better.
All right. Well, I thank you everyone who's been watching at home. We will be closing off now. Let's run those ending credits.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.